Hey, what's up, fam? Welcome back to Nomad Audio Vlogs. I am your host, Davy Knight. Today, with this video, it's when producing and engineering collide, and sometimes it can be a blurred line, even though there's a difference between producing and engineering. But many of the times, we happen to take on the same roles. Um, Me personally, I feel that producing and engineering should be two separate activities in which you should be paid for separately. If you are both the engineer and the producer of a project, I really do believe that you should be paid doubly for that because that's double work. And you're going to take on basically the entire project by yourself. That's basically what that means. So, a lot of the times, I either try to stick to the production side or stick to the engineering side. Production is more about the ownership of the creation, of the direction of the project and the way you want it to go. Engineering is more technical and service oriented. You got a job to do, and that's it. You have no control over the creative process, no ownership over that. You're just there to provide a service of either tracking, mixing, or mastering, and that's it. On the production side, you have control over the whole creation and how you want certain things to go technically. So you have inputs on the vocal tuning, on which instruments, on how all that 3/4 rhythm, 6/8 rhythm, all that falls on the producer. So you more of the ownership of it, right? You're more going to be the one with the credits and whatnot. And so the thing is that a lot of people make this whole thing. I don't know if you guys seen this debate online with Focusrite and an Apollo twin, and they'll be like, they'll diss the Focusrite and praise the Apollo. And honestly, both of them are great. It all depends on what you're doing and what it is that you're trying to accomplish. So if you're a beat maker, right? If you're a drum beat maker, you make hip hop beats. You sell your beats on BeatStars and whatnot, or you sell your beats for placements. You're good with the Focusrite. You're good with the Volt. You're good with the SSL one, two. You're good with those with the PreSonus. You're good with those. You don't really need something high end like an Apollo because you're making beats. You're making drum beats, and eventually your job is just to make the beat sound good on your end. Once you send that beat off to the artist or to the other client, whoever that may be, they're the ones that are going to focus on getting the engineering to do the right things. That's not really on you, so that's why you don't need nothing like an Apollo or a Carbon, Avid Carbon. Engineers, on the other hand, it does make a difference. A Focusrite just ain't gonna cut it. Because not because it's not good. Check this out. It's not because I good. I love Focusrite. No, the thing is that you need something that has more inputs. You need something with better preamps. And if you're tracking a band or you're multi-tracking, you most definitely want something with better AD converters and better preamps. And because you're engineering, you that's the thing. And preamps do matter. Preamps do matter. If you're gonna use a Focusrite or an SSL one, two, or the Volt, man, add a cloud lifter. I'm looking at it right now. Let me see if I can share the screen with you guys so that I can show you guys. Share that. Look at that right there. So the cloud lifter is this one right here on reverb.com. By the way, I'll leave my link below to check out my reverb shop. Right now, I don't have anything listed, but when I do put gear up for sale, you guys can see it there. And I'll give you guys a discount if you purchase out of mine. It's called David's Gear Outlet. I'll show it to you guys there. I'll leave the link so you guys can check it out below. So here we have the cloud lifter. This is highly recommended if you're going to use a Focusrite or any smaller. It really will help, and your mixing engineer is going to be very happy because You don't have to turn the gain all the way up. That cloud lifter will give you a very nice, clean sounding recording. You're gonna be out anywhere from 75 to 150 bucks, but it's worth the investment. And that way you don't have to upgrade your interface. You can stay with the Focusrite or with the Volt or the SSL, and you'll be fine. You'll be okay. If you want to record a vocal, if you want to record an artist or yourself, that's the way to go, and you'll get a much better preamps because preamps do matter. You got all this debate that they don't. From an engineer's perspective, they do. They do. And there's a big difference between the preamps on a Focusrite and the preamps on an Avid Carbon or the preamps in an Apollo. They're there. They're there. You can listen to them and they're there. You will hear the tonality difference and the difference of the color in the preamps and what they're meant to do. Even in guitars, when you put guitars to certain pedals and amps, you hear the difference. Go through many YouTube channels. You can scour them and just put your headphones on, and you'll hear the difference. Believe me, once you pay close attention, it becomes obvious. So a lot of the times, producing and engineering kind of become like a blurred line because, like, you think that if you're making beats that you need an Apollo. You don't. No, you don't. I guarantee you that you'll be okay with a Focusrite or with an SSL 1.2 or with a Volt. You'll be okay because you're making beats. You're making beats. You're cooking up beats on FL Studio. You're making beats on Logic. You're making beats on Ableton, and heck, you're maybe probably making beats here on Pro Tools. I make beats on Pro Tools too. I know them all. You can't. I prefer Pro Tools because I started in it and I just understand it, and I'm academically trained in Pro Tools, so I understand Pro Tools. I understand the language of it. But that doesn't matter to me. This is not a DAW thing about what DAW's better. Put me in front of Logic. I love Logic. That's actually my go-to as well. Ableton. I love making electronic and beats on Ableton because it's just easy to the flow. My workflow on Ableton is nice. Drums for FL. Whoo, them drums slap with FL when the native plugin. So it doesn't matter the DAW. You know what I'm saying? But you're making beats, so you don't have to worry about the technicalities of the specs in the audio converters. That's more technical. That's more engineer. Now, when you start tracking a band, when you start tracking drums, when you start a drummer, a whole drum set, when you start doing a whole band, when you're doing more than one vocalist, that's when things get more serious. That's when you need to put more engineering into it. That's when you have to switch up your interface, switch the IOs, add in more IO, add in more, a better. That's when you have to go from a Focusrite, maybe i1820, to something more like an Apollo 6 or you know what I'm saying, or me, something like that, an Avid Carbon Pre, because now you're talking, now it's a different setting. But for making beats, if you're just producing or cooking up beats, man, you'll be fine with the Focusrite. So I love Focusrite. I don't take nothing away from it, or the Volt, or those entry level ones, because you're making beats. But once you start live tracking, once you start doing things that require more I/O, that's when it does make sense and it does make a difference to move up in interface and move up in the preamps that you're going to use. But that's what I'm saying. That so when you're engineering, it's more service based. So when I engineer houses of worship. So I do it live. So I need all the IO set up already. I need everything to go because when I'm tracking, I'm recording everybody at once, from the instruments to the vocalist and the pastor. Everybody's being recorded. Everybody. And I need to make sure that all of it comes out clean. So I'm streaming and I'm mixing live. I'm mixing as I go. Right? And that's the thing, is that when you're going live, you're just you're on the spot. So there's no, if there's an error, it's an error. You just have to keep going with the flow. And so when you're tracking in the studio, if you're tracking drums, you know what I'm saying? You're gonna need all those. You're gonna need that extra I/O for all those mics, and that's why you need an interface that's higher. And then that's when you put into the making sure that those preamps are getting those drums real nice. And you're probably going to be tracking in a studio. I wouldn't recommend tracking drums in a home studio. Everything else, yeah, even vocals. But tracking drums is the one thing that I would still, tracking live drums is something that I would still go to a recording studio for, just for that, just to track out the drums live, and then from there on I'll get it sent to my session back here to my studio here, and then I'll add in the rest from here. But I know that the drums are taken care of. And there's a saying that goes that you can mess everything up except the drums, and I find that to be real true. There could be little errors in the melody or in something like that, but the drums, man, you can't mess that up because that is the heartbeat of the track. That is a heartbeat of the rhythm. So that's why it's very unacceptable for the drums to be bad. But when you're producing, you're in charge of how the project's going to come out and what genre it's going to be in, the writing, the lyrics of the songwriters, the drum rhythm that it's going to be recorded in, the note, the key of the song, the topic. You as a producer are in charge of all of that, right? As opposed to when you're an engineer, like when I'm tracking for houses of worship, well, the bands already have their songs and what key it's going to be in. My job is just a service to track them live and mix. That's all I do. I don't get to input them, or they don't ask me for. I don't give my opinion either. Not even if they ask for it. That's one thing I've learned, to just not give my opinion unless it's service oriented towards the engineering side and it's a question that they cannot answer for themselves. That's the only time. But I do not give my opinion unwarranted. And they don't ask for it either, which I'm glad, because this is the thing from the engineer side. If you put your input or give your opinion, if it works out, you're the hero. If it doesn't, you're the blame. And they will never forget that. And that could tarnish your reputation, and that could ruin the relationship between you and the client. So it's better to just not say nothing at all. So I'm glad they never ask in a church setting. They don't ask about. I don't ask, and I don't put it. It's awesome. But in a studio, sometimes the artist will ask you, and it's not even an engineering question. It's a production question. And I always have to kindly remind them that I'm just the engineer, and that they need to ask the producer about that, because that's a production question. And that's the thing. See, if you're paying me to engineer, you're not paying me to produce. So if you come at me as the engineer with a production question, I'm going to refer either back to yourself if you're the main guy, or to the producer, whoever your producer is, because that's on them. That's their job. You're not paying me for that. Unless you're paying me to be both the producer and the engineer, like I said, that means I'll be taking on the entire role myself, which means that you're going to pay me double. You're going to pay me for production and for engineering. Then yes, I take everything on and I'll answer everything. But if I'm a producer, I'm not going to, do the hardcore engineering work of mixing and mastering. I'm just a producer. I'm just going to put it together for you. From there on, I'll relate with the engineer on what it is that I want. But if I'm the engineer, then I'm not going to do nothing production wise. So when I'm working with houses of worship, I don't do nothing production wise. I just track and mix live. That's it. That's it. I have no control about what songs the bands are going to sing, what key are they in, what topic. Of course, in gospel, it's gospel topic, right? But I don't get to choose none of that. I don't get to decide any of those things. I'm just the engineer. I'm the technician. I just do the service oriented. Now, if I'm making a beat, now I'm in ownership position. Now I'm deciding, okay, I'm going to make this beat. I'm going to get these drums. I'm going to put this together. And then if I need to, if I don't feel comfortable doing it myself, I'll send it off to an engineer to fix it for me, or I'll just ship it off to the artist and let the artist take care of it with their engineers. But I'm no longer a part of it. You see. So when if I'm producing, I'm not going to focus on technical aspects of engineering, because my job is to create the direction and make sure that what we're creating is something that we both want, right? Because we're taking ownership. Production is about ownership, as where engineering is service oriented. So when you're just making beats, you're good with the Focusrite. You're good with just the Volt or the SSL 12 or the whichever one, I-1820. You're good. Just get you a cloud lifter for the mic so that you can get a clean preamp, and you're set. You're set, right? You don't need to do that much engineering when you're making beats. But when it comes to being service oriented, when you're tracking bands and you're tracking drums, it is more, you do need a, that's when a Focusrite is just not applicable. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just not I'm using a Focusrite right now, right? But if you see the session behind me, I was not using a Focusrite with this one, as you can tell. Right here, I was using, I believe, I was using an Apollo Twin, a quad. I was using the Apollo quad with this one. And so I wanted more processing. I wanted more DSPs. I wanted to do more, but also keep it native within Pro Tools. But the thing is, though, is that because I was doing a large session, the Focusrite just wasn't applicable. Not that it was wrong, but for this, it's perfect and I'm using it just fine. So, with that being said, when you're engineering, it's more service oriented. So you need to know the specs, and you need to know what type of preamps you're going to be using. Those things, those technical things matter, because you're a technician that's service oriented, as opposed to when you're in your project studio and you're producing and you're making beats. It's different. You don't have a band to track. You don't have all these things that you have to worry about. And so therefore you're good with whatever interface you're using for the most part. If it's a Focusrite, PreSonus, or SSL or Volt, Universal, you're good. You don't need nothing else. So that's the thing. So that's when engineering and producing can collide, and they both benefit one another. And yes, it's good to know both. I do both. However, if you're gonna pay me to do one, I'm not gonna do the other. So if you pay me to engineer, I'll engineer, but I'm not gonna produce for you. And if you pay me to produce, I'm not gonna engineer. I'm gonna have you resource it to your engineers, unless you want to hire me. Now, if you pay me to do both, I get it. I'm going to take it all on. The whole project is mine because I got the production fee and the engineering fee. And so bring it on, baby. Let's do it. But I know that I got my work cut out for me now. And I know that any question you have or anything you don't like, I have to take it from a whole 360-degree perspective now. But most of the times, most people will not pay you for both. They'll pay you for one or the other. Rarely do they pay for both. And so, in my experience, maybe you guys that are in the field have a different experience. Be sure to, you can comment and whatnot. I'm open to all that. Agree, disagree, it's all good. But I'm just showing what my perspective is and what I've seen and what I've come to understand. So, with that being said, you know that's I'll wrap up that video. And yeah, sure, man, get you a cloud lifter if you're just making beats, if you want to just record one artist or one vocalist. But yeah, once you start doing multi-tracks for a live band, or you're tracking live drums at the studio, well, then that's when obviously a regular interface is just not applicable. Not that it's any better or worse, it's just not applicable. In a setting like this, for me right now, it is applicable, so I'm using it. So that's the thing. So there's nothing really bad between a Focusrite and an Apollo. It's just, when are they applicable, right? Are they both applicable? And what is it that you're doing? Or, you know what I'm saying? Because if you're making beats, you don't need an Apollo. But if you're recording a multi-track, then yeah, you might want to consider that. So with that being said, I'll wrap it up. Thank you guys for tuning in. Be sure to like and subscribe if you're new to the channel. Help me grow it. Spread the word. Comment. Any type of engagement helps. And we'll see you all next time. And be sure to check out my shorts also as well. And I'll leave the link below to my reverb shop. I'm either gonna post it on here or just leave it below in the comment section, so you guys can check out my reverb store. And if you want to buy anything when I post something on there, I'll give it to you at a discount. Just say, hey, I watched your YouTube. So, all right, till next